The Electoral Commission says it's within schedule to conduct the 2016 elections on December 7, having successfully resolved the presidential aspirant disqualification saga.
Many have been worried the elections may have to be postponed as a result of the court cases brought against the Commission. The Electoral Commission, following a Supreme Court directive on Wednesday, settled on the shortlist of certified presidential candidates. Addressing some editors on Thursday, the Commission's chairperson, Charlotte Osei, also addressed the issue of a possible recounts of votes should the results be very close.
Forum was organized to allow the Commission an opportunity to engage editors of various media organizations on the plans of the Commission so far, as well as react to some topical issues. The EC chair addressing the forum said she is confident about the Commission's preparedness to organize a very credible election.
We are all working for the same purpose, to ensure that our country has peaceful, credible, transparent elections. And that is the priority of the Electoral Commission, that this year's elections will be even more transparent and even more credible and more accepted than the 2012 elections. And we keep working to make sure that every election sees improvements beyond the last election.
Madam Osei also justified the proposal for a recount of votes if the votes that separate two leading candidates is insignificant.
All we were saying was that it is better to be safe than sorry. The returning officer has a duty, and yes, a party can request it, and if the party requests it, at the polling station you can request for a recount. If you want another recount, then it has to move to the constituency collation center. But also at the discretion of the returning officer, if they think that it is too close, maybe one vote difference, 2 votes difference, may be safer for you to finish and then do it all over again just to check. That's all we're saying. And we do not know why there is such an issue about it. Should we go ahead and declare the first set of results we get?
She also described as untrue claims that the Commission intends to use the proxy voting and special voting exercise to rig the polls.
How we are going to use this to rig the elections still defies our imagination. The processes for early voting or special voting, as we call it, are very clear. They follow the same processes that we use for the general elections, because in our view, they are part of the general elections. The only thing is, because you have people who are going to be working at very different locations from where they normally work. You have media who need to cover the elections. You have security personnel, and of course, the staff that we deploy during the elections. It's not always possible to get electoral officials who are working at their own polling stations. And so we need to make provision for them to be able to vote.
The EC is meanwhile expected to release the notice of polls as well as print ballot papers for the presidential election in the coming days.
Meanwhile, police say they are on the hunt for some unidentified men who were seen wielding weapons when MPP and NDC supporters clashed in Odododio here in the Greater Accra Region on Tuesday night.
3 persons were injured in the clash, and police say they've stepped up following that. They've stepped up security in the area to prevent reprisals. Fifi Kumsin was there in the community and filed the following report.
Mabel, a retired civil servant, has lived in the Odododio constituency since 1967. That's almost 50 years now. She's very familiar with the clashes between supporters of the 2 main political parties, the NDC and the MPP.
So we have got 2 NDC and MPP, so anybody who wins, that's all.
But Mabel's thought does not cut across this deeply divided community, split along political lines. Here at the Jamestown police station is this mail-in crowd, hundreds of angry supporters of the New Patriotic Party demanding the release of 3 of their colleagues arrested following Tuesday's clashes here. Around them are these well-armed police officers and some armored vehicles. Gunshots were heard, machete wounds sustained, and egos of people bruised. NPP parliamentary candidate for Ododo accuses the incumbent MP, Neelante van der Poy, of masterminding the attacks.
Neelante van der Poy was the NDC candidate. Ask yourselves what happened, and it was Kufuor placed an injunction on him. It was because of violence, because of electoral fraud. That is his personality, that is his language, that is his posture. His posture has been, his posture has been violence, his personality has been violence, his language has been violence.
Mr. van der Poy would not comment. Today, however, there is calm, but the people here are worried about a possible reprisal.
Me papa nye politics ni. Me busafo nye politics me say me nye party ni bi. So who ye party na who the new ko party say see na NDC awini na kokudra awini. Who betumi afra wonua no. Na na kasa. Who to be fan kasa ye pe say ye mpa so ye pe peace.
There is nowhere to go, and that's the message this man, a supporter of the MPP parliamentary candidate, Neelante Banaba, is spreading in the community. He was, however, confronted by a woman who did not want his message.
Banama give me advice to thank everybody that whoever gets strength and power to support him at Bukom, he was thanking everybody who came, who did not came, who think about it is supposed to came, but did not get a way to came. He was thanking everybody. God bless everybody who support him to make his campaign in Dada Buko. That's the reason why you are seeing me now this afternoon.
Are you facing any challenge moving through town and doing this job?
No, people were talking about they want to beat me, but I'm just having a faith and hope that I was talking what I'm saying. So I'm not afraid of anybody who is going to beat me because I'm saying the truth. I'm not insulting anybody. I'm not fighting with anybody. I'm there for peace and strength and following Panama to get new community to change.
So I realized that when you were moving around, some people confronted you.
Yeah, people were talking, if I don't stop what I'm doing, they will beat me. But what I'm doing is what I'm doing. I'm still continuing doing what I'm doing because I'm not there to fight with anybody. I'm there to explain everything to any youth and any woman in this community to hear what Banama was saying.
For former civil servant Mabel, the tension in this area will surely die down. It's a ritual which repeats itself every election year, she says.
Oh, I've heard about, know about, but after the election, things will calm down.
And like this woman, many residents of this community just want this.
We want peace.
Fifi Kumsin, Ododo, Accra.
Maybe the scene of some of the worst forms of violence or clashes between the parties you may see, but it's also some of the best places in Accra you can get best kinky. I tell you. I've eaten some from there, no easy. But please, we're still focusing on the election because the Ghana Police Service says the tradition of persons using objects to form queues on election days will not be allowed in the upcoming elections.
Well, there has been the practice of some persons to use stones and stools to form queues either for themselves or relatives on election day. At a meeting on Thursday, however, with some stakeholders, the Ghana Police Service warned against the act. Hano Dame was there and has the rest of the story.
The practice of Ghanaians using stools and other objects, such as stones, to form queues for voting has been a regular feature in Ghana's elections. The objective from some busy voters is to maintain a place in the long queues, but it has been a source of confusion at polling centers on election days. Yesterday, the police engaged election observers from neighboring Burkina Faso, Togo and Ivory Coast to share experiences in ensuring peaceful elections. Head of Ghana's Election Security Chief Superintendent Benjamin Agojo announced that police would only allow eligible voters to join queues.
You will not have to use objects as to form a queue because they create problems. And another is the fact that you should not mass or bus people to the station to go and vote because it can create or it can constitute a trigger. We will do our best to provide the security that is needed for this election, but election security is a collective responsibility. Security agencies alone cannot provide it. All of us have a stake. 29,000 polling stations. Is it possible for all the people who are deploying, aside the security agencies, to have a common deployment plan, or maybe share your deployment plans in such a way that you will note that when somebody, you go where people have not deployed, rather than sending 2 or 3 representatives and observers, whilst there are others which have not been covered.
Political officer at the British High Commission, Abdul Razak Yakubu, was concerned about the engagement of vigilante groups by political parties. He also cautioned media houses with known political affiliations to be circumspect in their reportage.
We need to look at how proper and professional election reporting is done. The other factors that also needs to be taken into consideration has to do with vigilante groups. I know many political parties are making efforts to disassociate themselves from these vigilante groups. I think that part of it should also be monitored as part of your activities here in Ghana as well. We need to make sure that at the end, Ghana is the winner, and then there's continuous democracy so that Ghana continues to remain as the beacon of hope, and then to let others take the lead from that.
A journalist, Paul Adumotri, believes the tension experienced in the country every 8 years, especially when one party has been in power for those years, is as a result of the winner-takes-all mantra. Here is his solution.
Perhaps if the constitution is amended in a way that creates, in a way that deconstructs the winner-takes-all situation and brings other opportunities for parties who may not have won the presidential election, it might work better for Ghana. We have been having elections from 1992 up till now. If you look at the statistics, you will think that we shouldn't go into an election now worried about violence, but we are worried about violence. That's where Ghana always is, until we have a significant change in the rules that always present a winner-takes-all situation.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odami.
There's an ongoing strike action by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, and it's continuing to greatly impact patients reporting to seek treatment at government health facilities across the country.
Following a directive by the association, most nurses at these facilities have withdrawn outpatient services to protest a number of unresolved grievances, including a demand for better training and working conditions. The association members on Monday set out a roadmap it says should culminate in a full-blown strike come November 14. Matilda Humagan visited a number of health facilities here in Accra and has filed the following report.
So I'm currently at the outpatient department here at the Kolebu Polyclinic. On a typical day, these pews are filled to its capacity, but same cannot be said of today. As we speak now, nurses in public health institutions, which includes this facility, are all on strike. They are demanding that government address their concerns before they resume full operations. only emergency cases are being attended to.
Among the issues raised by the nurses is what they described as government's failure to pay their salary arrears, posting of graduate nurses and midwives, charging of promotional fees, sale of upgrading forms, inadequate provision of logistics to government health facilities, and allowances of student nurses and midwives. Going by the roadmap, the association from November 1 to 6th wore red bands to work and proceeded with the withdrawal of OPD services after government failed to meet their demands. At the Kolebu Polyclinic, nurses at post were only attending to critical and emergency cases. The situation was no different at the Ridge and Adabraka polyclinics. Meanwhile, the National Association of Registered Midwives in Ghana has called on its members to go back to work at the various OPDs. According to the group, even though they support the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association's roadmap to demand better working conditions, they cannot abandon their clients, majority of who are pregnant mothers, nursing mothers, and their babies.
A 35-year-old woman has been arrested at the maximum security prison at Ankafo after trying to smuggle 15 tins of mackerel containing compressed Indian hemp to an inmate.
Police at Elmina are due to put her before court as investigations continue. Richard Kwejo Nyako has more.
It was about 6 p.m. Wednesday when 35-year-old Maimuna Mohammed set out to visit one inmate by name Victor Owusu, who is serving a 110-year jail term at the Ankafo Maximum Security Prisons. Maimuna Mohammed, a trader at the Kotokraba market, went to the prisons with some provisions, including some 15 tins of mackerel. These tins of mackerel were sealed like any other product on the market. Luck, however, eluded her as the search by the prison officials revealed substances suspected to be cocaine sealed in the 15-can mackerels. ASP Daniel Machato is the PRO of the Ankafo Maximum Security Prisons.
She came with some provisions to give to the inmate, and we decided to subject the provisions to some thorough searching. So after everything had been searched, it was left with some mackerel, some canned mackerel, about 15 of them. So the officers who were conducting the search decided to open one of the tins. And when they used the knife to open the tin, to their amazement, they saw that they had stuffed the tin with compressed leaves suspected to be Indian hemp and covered it up with sand. And this is it was a factory-sealed tin.
Maimuna Mohammed, according to prison officials, looked very confident and unperturbed about the revelation. She claims the items were given to her by a friend in Kumasi to be delivered to the target at the prison. This is not the first time Maimuna Mohammed has visited the Ankafo Maximum Security Prisons. At her first time, she sent cooked food to one inmate different from the present one. Maimuna Mohammed is in the grips of the Elmina police, who are preparing her for the court later today.
And that's it for the news. So just in case you want to get a lot more of the news updates, make sure that you touch base with our Facebook page, Johnny's on TV. We're streaming live there every now, and we'll do a review of the online portals, and myjoyonline.com is your foremost online portal for the latest news update.
We've also got the newspapers right here on the AM show. You can send us comments on 0560 800,000. That is our WhatsApp line. Stay with us.
We'll be right back.